Hello. Welcome, my dear young friends, to the Voice and Visuals of Amber, episode number 23. Yes, it is, again, grammar in action, and it's about tense. But you'll recall, as I had said last time, my advice to all the teachers, also young teachers, is, to actually do tense and time. A particular tense form represents what time, the action is actually done, and also the voice, that is active and passive voice. So we did simple present tense the other day, and you'll recall it's a tense that we use. The simple present tense is the tense that we use to talk about habits, routines, to talk about truths or qualities about a person, about a thing, about a place, and we talk about universal truths also in the simple present tense. That is, the sun rises in the east. Okay, so universal truth. So the water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, or sulfur, melts into an amber colored liquid when we heat it to 115 degrees Celsius. So these are all universal truths, and we use the simple present tense to talk about them. Now, let's do simple present tense, and voice. Now, what do we mean by active voice? What is actually active? Is it the sentence in an active state? Is it therefore, what is therefore active voice? What is active in the active voice sentence? Well, the subject is active. The doer, is the subject. Let's take the first example. Arman plays tennis every day. Now this is a simple present tense used, third person singular subject, and therefore the base form of the verb, and because it's a singular third person subject, therefore S is added to it. So S ka kamal only when we talk about the present tense and third person singular, we have S figuring in the main verb or in the helping verb. So Arman plays tennis every day. This is in the active voice. Who is active? The subject. The subject is active. Who plays tennis? Arman. So Arman is the subject. And Arman plays what? He plays tennis. So you have this a sentence which has a transitive verb, which means an action verb with an object. What is an object? An object is therefore not exactly the receiver of the action, but it is actually the noun or the pronoun which is affected by the action done by the subject, or which is the result, of the action done by the subject. So the subject, Arman, does the action over here. Arman plays what? Tennis every day. So this is in the active state. It's an active voice because the subject is active, or the subject is the doer. Now, why do we have to, change this into a passive voice? Just for, a grammar question in a test? Well, you have to be very careful in real life. A grammar question in a test, in an examination, sometimes, can be very, very boring and unrealistic. Now, if we convert this into passive voice, what do we have to do? We have to rewrite that sentence without changing its meaning. That means no change in the time, no change in the functional meaning of the sentence. Tennis becomes therefore the subject of the sentence. So here, in the passive voice, the subject is not the doer. The subject is what is or who is affected by or result of the action. It's no longer the doer subject. So tennis is not the doer. Tennis is the result of the action done by the doer. So the doer, therefore, the agent, therefore is introduced mostly with the help of the preposition by. And if it's a simple present tense, so we use first the helping verb, which is the to be verb. A being verb in the present tense is, because tennis is singular, third person, so is, we can't say tennis are played, and we can't say tennis were played because that would mean the change of the time and tense. No, we're not talking about past, we're talking about habitual action. Arman plays tennis every day. Tennis is, and then is, the being verb or the to be verb in the present tense is followed by the third form of the verb, which is also called the past participle. Play, played, played. Okay, so tennis is played by Arman every day. Now the main question is, why should we therefore use the passive voice to convey the meaning of the sentence, which is so beautifully, so naturally, all right, and so easily expressed in the active voice? Arman plays tennis every day. So so when the focus is on the doer, on the subject doing the action, we use the active voice. And I would say 95% of the sentences, all right, that we use in English language, all right, will be in the active voice. It's only in very special cases that we should use the passive voice. Yes, we must learn how to change an active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence. Yes, but then just because we have learnt it correctly, it does not mean that we indiscriminately start using or writing sentences in passive voice without any solid rhyme or reason. So this sentence therefore, that's why I've written a question mark over here, that actually this sentence, there is no need in real life to write in the passive voice. But I've included it, to explain how to change active voice into passive voice. So tennis is played by Arman every day. And in the same, so it's a being verb in the present tense is plus the past participle played. And the subject of the sentence is no longer active or is no longer the doer. The subject of the sentence is now what was earlier the object has become the subject, that it is affected by or it is the result of the action. Let's take another example. Our little child keeps us awake the whole night. It's in the active state because the action verb is keeps who? Us. That means it has an object, which means it is a transitive verb. So remember, it's only when in a sentence we have a transitive verb, that is an action verb with an object, that we can think of converting that sentence from active voice to the passive voice. Our little child keeps us awake the whole night. So what is the subject? The subject is our little child, because little child is the doer, right? So the little child affects us. In what way? By keeping us awake the whole night. So us, therefore, is now the object of the transitive verb keeps. So when we change it into passive voice, again, this is simple present tense because it is used, because we are talking about a habit or almost a daily routine, that our little child keeps us awake the whole night. We are kept awake. Now, so us, therefore, the pronoun becomes over here the subject we, all right, and the subject is not doing the action. We are the ones who are affected by the action of the child. So, by our little child. So as I told you, the preposition by, therefore, is used mostly, commonly, in the passive voice, just before the agent or the doer of the action. So we, it's first person plural, present tense, therefore the being verb or the to be verb would be are, we are, No S over here because it is not third person singular in the present tense. So we are kept. So keep, kept, kept. So kept, therefore, this is the third form, the second kept. We keep, kept, past participle. So we are kept awake the whole night by our little child. So we are kept awake the whole night by our little child. Again, it's a very unnatural way of saying something because, yes, sometimes, when the focus is on the doer, is not on the doer, but it is on the victim. We, all right? Poor parents. Oh my God. Okay? So they are kept awake. So we are kept awake. So in this, we can use in the passive voice when we want to focus on the plight of the poor parents. But when we want to talk about the doer, that is the child, oh my God, don't talk about our child. He keeps disturbing us the whole night. Our little child keeps us awake the whole night. But then, you go home, you go to the office, and the boss asks you, "Hello, Amber, good morning." But it doesn't seem to be a very good morning to you, all right, because you seem to be a little sleepy. You seem a little sleepy-eyed. What's wrong? Yes, there, the focus is on the victim. My wife and I. So we are kept awake the whole night by our little child. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Payal watches 2 films every Sunday. Now, obviously, this is not about 2 films. The focus of this sentence is on this particular habit of Payal, the subject, the doer, that she is fond of watching at least 2 films every Sunday. So there is every reason for having this kind of a sentence in the active voice, but again, passive voice, perhaps no reason really. Here, maybe I can just erase this question mark because we can, have a reason for the passive voice of this sentence. When the victims, as I told you, the poor parents are affected very badly every night by their little child disturbing them. So then that sentence can be expressed in the passive voice. Okay, so Payal watches 2 films every Sunday. It's in the active voice because you have the subject. Who watches? Payal. Watches is an action verb. Is it a transitive verb? That means an action verb with an object? Yes. Payal watches what? 2 films every Sunday. So it's a transitive verb. We can change it into passive voice, but then is there any functional use, any natural communicative use of this sentence being converted into passive voice? Well, in order to learn grammar, yes. So therefore the subject is no longer the doer. What was the object already becomes the subject. 2 films, and it's 2 films, third person plural, therefore no is over here. Present tense are, and this is your past participle. Watch, watched, watched. So this is that, the third form, watched. 2 films are being verb, the to be verb plus the past participle. The to be verb plus the past participle. Watched by Payal every Sunday. But then no need really to have this kind of a sentence in the passive voice. We take our lunch late in the afternoon. Active voice. Very, very strictly active. Passive, I would say, such a sentence should not in real life be converted into passive voice. Yes, you may have, a grammar test, an English language test, where you may be asked just to test whether you actually know the rules of converting an active voice sentence into a passive voice. Well, therefore, that's sort of sentence or that sort of an exercise can be forced upon you. But then in real context, in the context of real life, everyday use of the language, please remember, when we don't want to focus on the result of the action, but we want to focus on the subject, the doer, then it's passive voice. And I repeat, 95% of the occasions in real life, we focus on the doer, right? So we take our lunch late in the afternoon. Again, the subject is we. Who takes? We take. Take is the action verb. Is it a transitive verb? Yes, it is. We take what? We take our lunch. So our lunch is therefore the object of the action verb take, done by the subject we. So our lunch is therefore the result. It is the result of the action done by the subject we. We take our lunch late in the afternoon. This is again describing a habit that we have in the family. We take our lunch rather late in the afternoon. Well, now, is there a need to actually convert this into passive voice? No. No functional, natural or communicative need. But as I told you again, just to test whether you know the rules of grammar, all right, vis-a-vis or pertaining to conversion of active voice to passive voice, that's why when you may be asked to change it into passive voice. Our lunch. So our lunch is now the subject, no longer the doer. Our lunch is taken late in the afternoon by us. A very, very unnatural sentence. So I will take up in my next lesson, that is Grammar in Action, Voice and Visuals of number 24, when to use the passive voice. Remember, the passive voice construction has to be used very carefully and very sparingly, which means you just should not, convert. And remember, this year, because of the pandemic, that is COVID-19, where I agree with the decision of CBSE in removing, a part of the grammar syllabus or course is active and passive voice, because the heavens won't fall on us if we don't know how to convert active into passive. Because, as I said, there is nothing wrong in writing and expressing yourself in the active voice. There is something wrong if we use the wrong tense. And there is everything wrong if we use the passive voice when the focus of our communication is the subject, is the doer. The focus is not at all the object. The focus is not at all lunch. The focus is our habit of taking lunch late in the afternoon. So this kind of a sentence must always be expressed in active voice, and most sentences, as I said, 95 out of 100 sentences that we use and we should use in the active voice. So never be in a hurry, okay? Never be in a hurry to actually write something in a passive voice just for the heck of it, just for the sake of it. No, please remember that. So that's all. Simple present tense therefore introduced. Simple present tense in connection with voice also done, okay? And we will move on to the next form of tense. First the tense and then the voice, the change of voice of that tense. Okay, so that is all. Take care and take very good care of yourself, and always remember, हर पल जब बाहर जाते हैं मास्क है ज़रूरी, absolutely, और साथ में 2 गज की दूरी. Take care. Bye bye. God bless.